All right, so I shot a new video this week and I wanted to play it for you. The beginning intro kind of got cut off a little bit on it, so I'm going to edit it a little bit, but I just wanted to kind of add this into it. And this is a video that we had a conversation about Record Store Day and also about Axpona, the show, audio show that happened in Chicago this week. So anyway, let's roll the film and let you enjoy it. Thanks a lot. So I figured we'd do another one, mainly because he went to the Axpona audio show in Chicago, which is a yearly event for all the audio nerds out there, including myself. But I yet to been able to go, but hopefully one day I will. But I was hoping he could.
Christmas.
What's that?
Audiophile Christmas. That's what my friend Eric calls it.
That's a good term for it. So, but I wanted to have him talk about that, and also, we might cover Record Store Day a little bit at the end as well, just because it's coming up this weekend, and it's kind of exciting. So you never know. But so we'll start off, I guess. Sean, why don't you talk about Expona and what your thoughts are about it?
It's for those, I guess, who aren't in the know, it's the annual, well, one of, I guess, multiple annual hi-fi shows throughout the country. This is the ones in the Midwest at the Schaumburg Renaissance. And basically, they book out, I want to say 7 floors or so in this building, plus not the main floor and all that. Take all the furniture out of all the rooms, and basically all these hi-fi companies come in, set up stereo systems and some chairs, and just demo their equipment for you. They tend to debut a lot of new equipment at the show, so you can see what's brand new or up and coming technology from various companies, and you get to get your hands on it and listen to it, which is kind of fun. So we spent 3 days there. It's a 3-day event. It's a lot of fun. They have some live music on Friday and Saturday night, which we didn't attend that. But there's a dealer room. They have that's been getting bigger and bigger every year. In the past, it was just mostly music direct, acoustic sounds, and elusive disc. But they're beginning a lot of used record dealers now setting up booths. People who make more periphery kind of items like record cleaning machines, those will be on display. They'll have furniture like hi-fi furniture and things like that. There's a whole separate section just for headphones and headphone amps. So there's pretty much something for anyone, no matter what your interest is in audio, from all kinds of price points. I heard speakers that were a couple $100 a pair. I heard a room that was $4 million. So, I mean, it runs the gamut.
Jump change.
I will say, for $4 million, it did sound very good.
I would hope so.
It was a massive, these massive horn speakers powered by like a wall of amplifiers. It was
That's pretty impressive.
It was cool. ESD was the company name, and or like I think was the electronics that they were using. They sounded really, really nice.
They better for that kind of money, right?
Exactly. And that to me is part of the appeal of the show. It's you can hear things that you'd never in a million years be able to afford, right? I could never afford a system like that. I heard speakers that were $250,000. I could never probably afford that either, But it's nice to hear what that level, that state of the art kind of is, or that, that's kind of peak performance for audio, right? It's nice to hear that and then kind of have that baseline in your head, what is possible, but also compared to what you have. If that makes sense.
Yes, it does. The downside of that is like, man, now I need a better system. Especially if you hear that $4 million one.
I mean, I don't know that, there is a very, very steep law of diminishing returns at that end.
Of course.
Audio,
I'd hope so, yeah.
I mean, I don't know that it was that many times better than, let's say, some $5,000 speakers that I was listening to, which I'll talk about later. So I mean, it's neat to see the comparison point between them. There was one room, I hate to stoke the fires of controversy, but there was one room with 2 pairs of Zoo Audio speakers, one atop the other, and they had an A/B switch, and they just switched back and forth between the two speakers, playing a track. And it turns out the only difference between the 2 speakers was the cables, and it did sound different. So
it's impossible.
It was essentially a cable demo, right? These Zoo Audio speakers had 2 different sets of cables, and one cable was definitely brighter than the other. I had a preference for one. To be fair, I didn't ask what the price was of the cables. I find some of that a little bit bonkers, you know.
It
But it
is.
does. I think it does make a difference. You know, I'll say it. I'm sure I'll see all the negative comments below. You know, this guy's an idiot. But I mean, I heard it with my own ears. You know, and
Yeah, I
honestly,
mean,
I assumed they were demoing two different speakers. They were just painted different. They had different finishes. I assumed there was a difference in the speaker model. I didn't realize it was a cable demo. So I wasn't listening on purpose to hear differences in cables. I happened to do it. You know, it's incidentally it happened because
yeah,
I
no,
wasn't picking myself into it. You know what I'm saying? Or it was a placebo.
yeah, no, and I worked in an audio retailer for 11 years, and we always pushed the cables, and I can't say every time I heard a difference, but it's one of those things we always kind of use that rule of thumb of my rule of thumb when I sold stuff is you wanted to we figured about 10 to 20% of the cost of the system on your cables to get
Yeah,
something to kind of match the level of your quality. But you know, everybody's entitled to their opinion. If they don't think they hear a difference, that's fine. They
that's
don't have to
fine.
buy
Yeah, I
them.
mean, you, you know, it's fine. Yeah, you know, I don't, and I didn't spend crazy money on my cables. I mean, I'm not defending that or whatever. You know, I think it is obscene some of these cable prices, but to say they don't make a difference, I think it's rationalizing trying to basically justify not wanting to buy something like that.
Yeah. No,
If that makes sense,
I
you know,
kind of feel that same way. But yeah, I don't want to go too deep into that and start people going, "Oh, I'm gonna
way
stop this
more.
video."
But there were, but no, it was a very good show, and I figured maybe we could talk through some of the highlights that of the show, at least to me, anyways.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there was one room, and I know I kind of hinted at this when I was talking to you yesterday, but there was one room, it was the Harbeth room. Harbeth makes these kind of famous kind of, they make their version of the BBC monitor speakers, you know, the kind of iconic speakers. They had a couple speakers on display in their room. And I guess the newest thing that they got now is they have a little 3-inch version of the speaker on stands that are custom made to actually have a driver in the stands too.
Hmm.
So you have a tiny little bookshelf with the driver in the stand, kind of pumping out more bass that way. And the guy in the room who was the rep for the company had absolutely zero filter about doing his job. So he's sitting there, he's like, I don't know why they designed the speakers this way. It's pretty stupid to do it this way. Yeah, it's got that wipe-proof factor, I suppose, but the crossover is totally wrong for these speakers. They don't even sound very good. And I'm like, so tell me more about the product that you've wrapped. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, I mean, do you guys want to hear these speakers? We're like, no, we'll hear the other ones instead because there are two pairs in the room. Well, I guess I should probably put a record on then, huh? And he grabs the box of records they brought with to demo with. I'm kind of just peering over his shoulder as he's flipping through them. You know, and the first album in the box was like Neil Young. He's like, I don't know who this is. Flips through. I don't like Cat Stevens. Flips through. Who the hell is Ryan Adams? They're like, oh, no, Ryan Adams is. What? There are people here who know who Ryan Adams is? Well, I guess I'll put this one on.
Wow. I'm
That
I'm
guy was awesome.
I'm guessing he may not be long for that company.
Either because of his behavior or his age, he was really old.
Exactly.
but uh, but no, it was. I thought that was entertaining. We were like, you know, at first we are just gonna leave the room, like, hold on, let's see where this goes. Because he was just going on this whole tear about how he doesn't like those speakers, and I wouldn't design them that way.
Well, it's a good thing you're not designing.
I know. I thought that was great. So that was kind of entertaining, you know. One of the highlights to me though is Mobile Fidelity has a new pair of speakers coming out. I want to say in August or July, designed by Andrew Jones. The Source Point.
Yeah, I think I saw them on Tone Audio. Yeah, the Power Source
Yeah,
8 or whatever they're
that
called.
was my photo. Yeah, I posted those.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. If you want to see photos of these things, I posted them on Tone Audio's Facebook page.
I was
So
wondering who was posting that stuff.
yeah, so the MoFi Source Point 888s. They made some speakers I want to say last year with Andrew Jones. They're just
Yeah,
they're
like fives
basically
or fours or something like that.
they're
Yeah.
small little bookshelf speakers. So this is their first tower they're making. You know, and I preface this by saying yes, I know $5,000 isn't chump change. It is a decent amount of money, but compared to like, $4 million speakers or
Yeah.
$250,000 speakers, you know, for high end, in the high end, they were fantastic sounding speakers for that price. If you compare it to other speakers that are priced near that and even higher than that, let's say 10K or whatever, these speakers really held their own, and they were. I would love to get a set of those. I thought they were fantastic.
Well, Andrew Jones is kind of known in the industry for getting like the best bang for your buck on a speaker. I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly.
he made some, I think it was like Pioneer, I think,
Yeah,
speakers that were like $200 or something like that that
the
everybody
bookshelves are
loves.
amazing. Yeah, those are fantastic. He went to ELAC. I have a pair of the
Yeah,
ELACs that he
Elax,
designed
yeah.
bookshelves. Those are great. Yeah, so he was there. He was there demoing the speakers himself in person, which I thought was great.
That's awesome.
So it was really kind of cool. But those speakers I thought were excellent. They're, again, on the high end of what most people consider kind of high end money wise. But I thought the sound was absolutely wonderful in the speakers.
That's awesome. And did they have any test pressings there this year at all?
No, I asked MoFi to not bring any test pressings this year,
That's
which
too
is kind of
bad.
insane because I do love it when they kind of demo an upcoming record like that.
It would be great to hear one of the newer, like the new Van Halens that are slated to come out soon, you know?
Yeah, I did pick up a bunch of MoFi's LPs at the show that they did some reprinting some older records that have been out of stock. I just picked them up this weekend. I haven't played them yet. I'm hoping that these were actually pressed at their pressing facility.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Because I like to hear how their pressings sound because I really feel like I think RTI is just too overwhelmed with work to do. Then the quality control has really gone down over the years. I'm hoping MoFi doing their own stuff will A, improve the quality of the pressings, and B, get more of them out there because they've really been behind in terms of putting out titles compared to their competitors because
Yeah, they
RTI
are.
is prioritizing them essentially.
Yeah, it's
So
been pretty ridiculous. Yeah, the RTI thing's kind of weird for me because I always defend them because I still think
they're still good
they're
when
as
they're
they're
good.
still as good as any of the other pressing plants that I see out there because I've had problems with QRP as
Oh yeah,
well and all those. But the one weird thing that I've been getting lately, and I haven't posted to see if anybody else has been having this issue, but all of my tone poets, every single one of them, I get noise in the last like 10 to 20 seconds of the end of each side, no, regardless. Doesn't matter what it is. It's perfectly silent through the whole thing until the last like 10 seconds or so. There's like a little bit of noise at the end of it. It's so annoying.
oh yeah. Especially when it's nice, kind of quiet acoustic music to begin with. You know.
Yeah, so it's kind of weird. So I've been kind of disappointed in that. So I'm hoping, but it only seems to be in the tone poets. I haven't seen because I think Kraft has some that are done at RTI as well, and I don't recall any of those having that issue. And I don't think any of the like one steps have had any of those issues that I can recall either. So it seems to be just a tone poet thing. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Maybe they press all the tone poets on the same pressing presses or something like that, and those presses just happen to have that issue. I don't know.
Who knows? Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's frustrating. It's frustrating when the price of vinyl keeps going up, and up, and the quality seems to be going down.
Yep.
It's gotten to the point, and I made this comment to some friends of mine at the show. We went to this room where it was, I mean, they were expensive Wilson audio speakers hooked up to just a hi-fi Rose streamer slash integrated amp in one unit. So it was just a streamer box and two really expensive speakers. And basically, I told my friends, if my house were to burn down tomorrow and all my LPs were gone and destroyed, I don't know that I'd buy another turntable again. Honestly, digital, I think digital's just gotten so good over the last
Yeah.
10 years or whatever. And in combination streaming especially has gotten really good over the last few years. It's just it's nice to not deal with those problems anymore. Really, it is.
Yeah. I
I said
mean,
for a vinyl guy,
yeah, I mean, you don't buy vinyl because it's gonna have superior sound at this point anymore. I mean, it's really more about the experience, the artwork, and the whole liner notes and all that kind of stuff, and I guess a little bit to the collectability too. So
sure. Again, controversial statement number two to follow up with the cables. I personally think that analog at its best always sounds better than digital at its best. I based it on my own experiences here at my house, at the hi-fi shows. I've heard their top of the line analog setups that are way better than the top of the line digital setups that I've heard. It's just borderline impossible to get that experience. It's
Yes.
hard to get a
I
perfectly
was gonna
flawless.
say it'll cost like
You know,
10 times more than the digital version
and
to.
that's yeah, exactly. Tracking these pressings down is really difficult. Researching these pressings is a lot of work because not every pressing sounds the same. Not all records are created equal. There was one room, I forgot what the brand was. A turntable was around 100 grand. It was really pricey, with the cartridge and all that stuff. The turntable was as tall as I was because like the motor was this massive, this huge, massive platter and all this whole structure on this thing. And that thing, I had never heard records that good. It was absolutely silent. No rumble, no nothing other than two ticks I heard on the LP side,
That's
which probably just
impressive.
letting it. It was amazing. It's the quality of that sound is way nicer than a lot of the digital that I've heard. But like, because again, I think the big problem with digital these days is it's just a mastering decision. They compress the audio, and it's just, to me, it's not as nice sounding as analog. But again, to have that experience repeatedly is borderline impossible these days.
Yeah, no, it is.
And I feel, jumping back, say 15, 20 years ago, a decent entry level record player, let's say like a Riga, I had a Riga P3 15 years ago or whatever, and a nice Oppo universal disc player. Those are roughly comparably priced objects. I thought the Riga was the clear winner. It was the better of the two source components. You jump ahead now, you, for the price of a good entry level analog setup, the same price streaming box is going to outclass it. I think it really is.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you definitely, I mean, you need to spend some serious money on to get a vinyl or analog
Yeah,
path that's gonna beat even an inexpensive digital one at this point in time. So, and
you
if you
know,
got it, then then it's
and
gonna probably
even
sound
if you
better.
have
But
even if you have the gear, and you got the money to buy the nice gear, it still needs to be set up correctly. There's so much that can go wrong in an analog playback,
yeah,
setup. It, is the plug and play aspect is just really, really appealing these days to me. The older I get, I'm hitting 50 this year. It's I it, the more plug and play something is, the more I like it. I'm looking to upgrade my turntable this year to get a Lin turntable, and part of the appeal to me is the cartridges Lin make. They just plug right in. There's no
yep,
alignment. There's none of that. Just the three pins, plug it into the head shell, or sorry, on the arm. Screw it in, adjust the tracking force. You're done. There's no fidgeting with it. There's none of that.
yeah. Well, that's kind of the appeal with mine. I've
Super
got the
simple.
RP. I have an RP6, and I have a a 2M black LVB actually on it, but I just replace the stylus every few years. So
Yeah. Is
um
that the new version of the black? Or is
yeah,
that the
the LVB is short for Ludwig van Beethoven edition. It's got was it a boron cantilever, I guess is the difference between it and the original one. And I
yeah,
spoke to our I spoke to our buddy Bess about it. He's like, "Yeah, you need to get that, man. It's a big difference."
it is. I heard it at the show this weekend, and it sounds really nice.
Yeah, that's
'Cause
what I've got. It sounds good.
I was always underwhelmed by the black.
All
But
right.
this time I was like, wow, this is actually really, really good. But again, though, you got the same problem. You still have to make sure the cart's aligned correctly on the tone arm, unless you
Yep.
bought a Riga cart, which will then snap right on. It's
Right.
dummy proof at that point. But
Yeah, once it's set though, it's good, and you just have
yeah,
to replace the stylus every few years. So that's kind of the good thing about it. It's not what a moving coil where you have to replace the whole cartridge.
I know nothing.
But
Yeah, I recently picked up a new rack for my setup, and yeah, I have a moving coil, so just the amount of cables alone I have because of it is just insane. Because I got the cables that go from the turntable to the step-up transformer, from the step-up transformer to the phono stage, from the phono stage to my amplifier. That's a lot of interconnects.
yeah, my actual phono preamp has all kinds of adjustments for that. It actually's got the built-in
Mine does too.
gain if I needed it, but
Mine does too, but a transformer tends to work better than electronically boosting the gain. That's why. Or so they say. I think it sounds better personally. I've compared it, but
That's what matters.
it's just another expense. It's another component to buy, and there's no cables to connect. So it's like, ugh, you know.
Yep. So anything else that grabbed your attention while you were there?
Well, there's a bunch of things I thought were great. I got to see the new Lin. Speaking of Lin turntables, I got to see their collaboration with Johnny Ive from Apple. It's sort of, well, it's crazy expensive. It's like 60,000 for this turntable for the LP12 50th anniversary edition. Only 250 were made. You know, I I don't see the Johnny Ive-ness of it. Like it still looks like an LP12 to me. You know, it looks like a typical Lin Sonic turntable. I mean, if you look at it up close, you can see like the corners around it that were squared off before. And I guess he designed new hinges. But like, is that seriously worth, this is worse than the Apple tax, let's be honest, right? Like, you know, the most top of the line Lin turntable that's not done with Johnny Ive is their flagship was like 30K. So to double the price just to get new hinges and like rounded corners in a couple spots, and I think he redesigned the power switch. I think that's a bit crazy. But
Yeah, it's kind of nuts.
I love their tables, but I think I know it's meant to be a collectible. It's only 250 made, and it's more to appeal to that kind of collector, I
Yeah,
guess.
I
I'm
think
sure
that's
there are
a
audio
big part
collectors
of it.
out there, just like people collect cars. I'm sure people collect pieces of gear. It's just
Oh, it's crazy. I'm on some groups. I mean, it's mainly the vintage gear groups, and you
yeah.
just see them. They have stacks and stacks of stuff. My favorite though is when they have stacks of speakers and they have them all play at the same time. Like, oh my god! And then they'll argue with you that, oh no, this definitely sounds better than just one pair of speakers. I'm like, you've never had a one set of speakers set up
Okay.
properly, then.
Well, I imagine it sounds louder than one set of speakers. I gotta
Yeah.
imagine the imaging is absolutely terrible.
Oh, it's non-existent, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. It is literally Phil Spector's wall of sound. It's just that.
Yeah.
And then speaking of imaging, there was a company called Endow Audio that made they had two sets of speakers there that were kind of new. Both of them have their new driver design, or a tweeter design rather, that has 9 tweeters on this like cylinder that sits on top of the speaker cabinet. So it fires off in all directions at high frequencies. And then you got just the one woofer on the cabinet itself. They had I almost said bookshelf. They corrected me. It's a mini tower.
Oh, Jesus.
They were not pleased with my choice of words in that room. I got the Luigi Death Stare, and it's a mini tower. So the mini tower from the end house, the imaging on these speakers was incredible. The
Can you
depth.
put them on the floor though?
No, they need
Yeah.
stands.
Yeah.
So
Or
I know,
or a bookshelf.
top of the bookshelf. Exactly. Yeah. And yeah, that whole it's a mini tower. No, it's not a tower at all. It's like this tall.
Yeah, it's
It's a
like,
little bit bigger
sorry.
than my head. My head is not a tower or a mini tower. Come on.
Some
But
people are crazy.
semantics aside, they were awesome sounding speakers. Yeah, you close your eyes and the sound stage is way wider than where the actual speakers themselves were. The depth was really, really great too. The actual tower version was good. I actually thought that the mini tower was better.
Better get it right.
I know. You know, I was mostly on the lookout for speakers this year. The Pure Audio Project open baffle speakers I thought were great. I don't know how that works. I'm so used to needing a cabinet to generate the bass, but it's just a flat panel with the drivers just back ends open.
Yeah. I mean, they by rule or by you know, they usually don't produce as much bass.
Right.
But usually the imaging and soundstage and all that stuff is far superior in most cases. So,
Yeah.
so that's part of the appeal to them.
Yeah. I got to see the Project Pink Floyd turntable and the Metallica turntables in person. Sadly, they weren't plugged in, so I didn't get to see it lit up. But
That's too
it was
bad.
fun. That was a lot of fun. I'm trying to look at my notes I took. JBL updated their classic L100s.
Yes, I heard about
I
that.
No, those sound absolutely wonderful. I really, really want a set. And it, much like how a Japanese record sounds better when you have the obi strip on the side, I think the JBL sound with the orange grills on the
Well,
front.
then you got the like electric
Yeah,
blue
the
too,
classic
right?
70s orange. They sound better that way.
It can't be the blue, it's got to be the orange.
It's got to be. It's got to be.
Yeah, I'd love to
But
listen to those.
yeah, that was great. There were a lot of seminars that went on over the 3 days. I didn't see really many of those this year, although I did get to meet Jamie Howarth from Plangent over at the show. He was doing a demo in one of the rooms of how Plangent works. Basically, he's just playing a before and after of a couple tracks.
Yeah, I
And kind
got
of
to experience that at a mastering studio actually in California once. It was a pretty awesome, eye-opening experience.
yeah, I mean, it's I don't want to use those audiophile cliches. It's not night and day, the
No, it's never
Pleasure
night and day, but
Blu-ray,
it's
the other version.
it's definitely
You know,
noticeable.
it is noticeable. Yeah, it reminds me a few years back there was this company that sells room treatments, and what they did at Axpona was they rented two rooms side by side that were identical rooms in terms of their shape and everything, and had the exact same system in both rooms, but one room had treatments, one did not. So same gear, playing the same recordings. So you went to the one room first, listened to a track for a couple minutes, whatever. Head over next door, hear the exact same track, but in a treated room. The difference was not subtle at
No,
all. And the cool thing about that experience is both rooms sounded good. If you didn't have that sort of comparison point, this is kind of the point I'm trying to make with the Planja thing too. If you didn't have the comparison point, you wouldn't be unhappy either way.
yep,
So in the first room, I just thought, it was a recording I wasn't familiar with, so I just assumed that was how the recording sounded. The reverb I'm hearing on this just jazz record was on the tape, is what my assumption was. Then you go to the room next door and that reverb disappears, and you're like, oh, that was the actual room itself imparting its sound.
yep,
And the Planet demo was kind of the same way. The first track I heard sounded good to me. It was fantastic sounding. And then when you switch it, you're like, oh wow, that's improved. I didn't realize that was not part of the recording. It actually was a flaw in the recording. It was a part, but it wasn't meant to be that way.
right.
Once you have that comparison point, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I actually a few years back, we had conversations back and like messaging back and forth, and he actually he asked me if I had any like 24 192 tracks, and I gave him a few of them, and he redid them and sent them back to me, and I was like, wow, it was
Yeah, I
it was
mean,
pretty amazing.
yeah, I mean, and for people kind of wondering what I heard, like I want to say the track he played was "Don't Know Why" by Nora Jones, which was quite unfortunate because I went almost the entire weekend without hearing Nora Jones. That was toward the end of the day on Sunday, and I'm like, I almost made it. You know, because that's there are certain tracks that are just so played out at hi-fi shows, and that is actually, and it's a great demo track. But this is my like 10th year going to Axpona. So these demo tracks that kind of like the staples of the demo dumb, the demo world. It's just
Diana
like,
Krall, and
yeah, all these
although I
tracks.
used to do a Diana Krall when I worked at the hi-fi shop, but I did one no one else ever did because there's a song called Temptation, which is a
Yes, and
Tom Waits song. But if you have it on a really good system with a really good subwoofer, it's
oh
amazing
yeah,
the low end that you pick up on that you don't like. I used to do a subwoofer demo with that, and
yeah,
I'd turn the subwoofer on and off, and people would be like, "Oh my God."
yeah,
It was
yeah.
amazing how much of a difference there was.
Yeah, I've heard that track on Expo, but not in a while. But no, I almost spent the whole weekend without Nora Jones. I was like, but listening to a song like "Don't Know Why," once they switched the source from the original just 24 192 to the Plangent processed version, it was the change to me was everything became a lot more focused. So like,
Yep.
because the system that was a really high end kind of expensive system. Everything was very nicely placed in space, all the different instruments and whatnot. And there was a guitar off to the right, and once he switched, like it became super sharp exactly where that guitar was. It wasn't just in a
Yep.
general area to my right. It was exactly in a specific space. Her voice
Well,
became precise. The words that were clearly pronounced. It's a really cool effect. And for people wondering what's happening here is basically tape machines don't hold a constant speed. That's
Yes.
the flaw of analog too. And one of the many problems with analog, in this case analog tape, is they don't hold a steady pitch. So while a recording is being made, there are mechanical sounds and and bias tones that are being recorded to tape that are
Yep.
ultrasound. We can't hear them.
Yeah, they're above our hearing. But
Whatever the term is, but like we can't hear these tones, but they exist, and they should technically be a steady tone at one specific pitch.
right.
Basically, what the planchette process is doing is it's locking in on that tone, and then basically locking the recording to that tone, so it's exactly the same tone throughout the entire tape. It fixes all the timing errors.
Yep.
It's all the things are kind of smearing the imaging in time, and there are timing errors in the recording are being fixed.
Yep.
And it's doing nothing destructive to the recording other than just fixing the pitch issues or whatever. As far as I'm concerned, every recording should be done like this. It made a difference.
And I have to be honest with you, I don't know if that's what MoFi does, but one of the things that when I almost always when I do a sound quality shootout and I'm comparing like a MoFi with other pressings, that's the one thing that sticks out to me that they just seems to be the space seems to be more defined, and I think it's the
Yeah.
gear that they have, and maybe maybe they're doing some of that correcting as well, maybe not quite the same way that
Especially
the
on the
planjet process. What's that?
especially like on their SACDs and stuff.
Well, yeah, but I've noticed like on the one steps too. Like if I'm doing a record
Those
shootout and
records also, yes.
and I'm listening to a Ryan K. Smith, which sounds great, or I'm listening to a Bernie Grumman or a Kevin Gray, and they all sound really good. But not always, but a lot of the times when you put that MoFi one on, I notice like there's more separation between the instruments and it's more defined, and it's
Exactly.
and I think that the gear probably has something to do with it, but it could be that they're doing some of that correcting because as we now know, most of these are now digital. So
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And I think he's helped them out on a couple of recordings. So yeah,
he has on a couple of them. Yeah.
I know one of the Dire Straits titles. I think
Yes.
was one of them. That's the self-titled maybe. But yeah, I mean, it was a cool demo. And things like that are part of I think the value of going to a show like that. It's getting
Yeah.
that kind of experience you wouldn't normally have at home.
You
You
don't know
know,
what you don't know until you go
right?
and test
You know,
that stuff. And
don't listen to talking heads on the internet, people. Go here for yourself.
well,
you know,
that's the thing, and I
right,
always I probably piss a lot of people off in those vintage groups and stuff like that because they're like, "What do you guys think sounds the best for for this my room? I want this speaker or this speaker." I'm like, "You're gonna get 30 different answers.
right,
Listen to them yourself in your
right.
room because that's the only way you're
Right.
gonna find out."
Yeah, because you're gonna get 30 answers from people who've never heard your room.
Yeah.
I mean, really, I couldn't tell you that. And that's the nice thing about having a good dealer nearby. At least in my case, I live near Music Direct, and
Yeah, you're very fortunate. Yes.
they have a very nice return policy. So I can I can buy anything I want from Music Direct, bring it home, and go, oh, this sounds terrible. Take it back, no problem.
Yeah, I've got a local shop that allows me to do that too if I wanted to.
And a lot of the dealers too will let you, that aren't local will still mail order and ship it to you and let you ship it back. But that's just
Yeah, it's
it's
pain.
more cumbersome to ship it up and take it to the UPS or store or whatever,
Yep.
if I made that. But yeah, that's the best. It's cool to hear the stuff at a show, but it only tells you so much. Hearing it in your house is the actual ultimate test of how something is going to sound.
Definitely.
But it's nice to get your hands on it, because pictures look nice in magazines, but when you get your hands on the actual item, because they're pretty friendly at the shows. They'll let you touch things. They'll take requests. They'll put whatever they'll play Nora Jones and stuff like that because they want to put the gear out there in the best light possible. But
Of course.
also, if you ask them to play something, they'll play it. I will say though that was sort of the interesting problem I noticed this year, more so than previous years, is that the Wi-Fi was really bad this year,
Huh, that's too bad.
especially the second day. So they would queue up tracks and everything would just freeze up. So
They
after
should have
waiting,
they should have brought hard drives with the stuff on
I'm
it.
actually, I'm actually sort of surprised that they didn't. At least for the
Yeah.
tracks that they use on the regulars, their kind of their rotation of demo tracks that they think best shows their gear. Those should
Yeah.
have been local on their hard drive too, and
Or
then
thumb
just
drive, something.
right, and then just queue up whatever a person asks for. Obviously, the vinyl rooms didn't have that problem.
Yeah,
you
no.
know,
Well, and that's one thing. See, they should do this in Vegas because I can tell you, last time I was in Vegas at a trade show, which I'm going in June, I can't wait, is they actually had 1 gig data speeds up and down
Wow,
during the trade show with thousands of people there.
that's nice.
It was
Yeah.
incredible.
I can imagine this is probably the only time of the year that the
That's my
Schomburg gets that much data use. You know what
well,
I'm saying? On their
and
cell
this was
phone.
on AT&T network. This wasn't like on Wi-Fi. This was actually on cell phone network.
Oh wow,
Yeah, it was
impressive.
incredible.
That's really impressive.
I was shocked.
Oh yeah,
But yeah, no. But
it was
I'm
fun.
gonna have to.
I got to see all your favorite internet, personalities in person or whatever. I got to see like Michael Fremer was there. I bumped into him, Steve Guttenberg. If you watch his YouTube channel,
Yep.
I talked to Mike from the N Group for a little bit outside the dealer hall.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. All these people seem to be very approachable. I think they kind of know, they have, they're kind of fan base that wants to say hello. I've
Yes.
never had anybody rude to me. But yeah, it's a great time. If you're in the area, it's not that expensive to go to pick up a ticket. It's
Yeah.
definitely worth.
One of
Yeah,
these days, I
exactly.
need to
You should
try to
do it.
coordinate a time to go
Yeah,
but it's getting harder and harder to do that with work. But hopefully someday.
yeah. This is actually the first year I actually took a. Well, I shouldn't say the first year, but I haven't done it in a long time. I actually went through the ear gear area because I'm not a big headphone guy, but I'd like to pick up a new pair to use at work, as I've been going back in the office a little bit more lately. So it's nice to check out the Meze audio stuff. Sounds fantastic. The full Cal headphones
Those
are
are awesome.
real nice. They're
Yeah, I've heard
Bluetooth.
lots of great things.
They're Bluetooth headphones too. That's the best part. They sounded great. They're noise canceling, which is great because in the Focal had a big room on the main floor with speakers that were taller than me. The Grand Utopias are ginormous.
Yes.
And they had like the big glowing Focal logo and these big massive speakers, and like a crowd gathered. It was like a rave in like the Focal room. This big bass, heavy music pounding. I'm just on there with these headphones on, listening to like something quieter. I'm like, oh, wow, actually drowning out a lot of that.
Have you?
I was kind of startled when I took them off after a few minutes. It's like, oh, what's loud in here? I forgot.
Did
But
you
yeah,
get to check out the Mark Levinson ones at all?
no, I didn't see those in the Year Hall. You know what? Yeah, there is a certain. Yeah, it seems like the really expensive stuff was the really good sounding stuff, but there are a lot of deals to be had cheaper too. There was a $6,000 pair of headphones I thought sounded really nice. I won't say they're Meze Audios, I could be wrong, but also those Focals were 700s. I mean, you know, which is still not cheap, but like for a really solid, really good pair of headphones, I think probably worth it.
Yeah, I still want to hear those Mark Levinson ones. I think they're 1,000 retail.
Yeah.
They have noise canceling and they're wireless, but you can also plug them in. And I think they're like 24.96 if you
Oh,
plug them
nice.
straight into your headphone jack. So
Yeah,
maybe even higher.
it's a fantastic show. Definitely worth, like I said, definitely worth if you're into audio, definitely worth checking one out. Either Axpona or one of the other ones. It is a
Yeah,
cool experience.
very, very cool.
And I think that's a
Awesome.
pretty good show in the States. So it's every April. It was a good time.
Nice. Awesome. So, all right. Well, let's talk about some other stuff now. And
Yes.
I guess well, one of the some of the like current topics that I've heard recently, and you probably have heard stuff of. I don't know if you heard Billie Eilish's take on the color variations on vinyl.
I caught the comment, yeah.
And I think it's pretty funny. I mean, it sounded like she was more trying to say it's bad for the environment, you shouldn't be doing it type of thing,
Right.
but it sort of didn't come across that way. And I think it's also outrageously hypocritical because like her new
Yes.
album that she just got announced has at least 5, if not 6 variations that are already been announced
I
for it.
know. I know. Of course, McCartney 3 says hold my beer, but
I know, right? Well, and someone brought to my attention before is also the last Rolling Stones album that had all the Major League
yes.
Baseball team variations and
I was at a record show a couple months ago. One of the dealers there had every copy of that album there. I think there were like 36 of them.
that's ridiculous.
Baseball teams, he had all the soccer, as we would call them, or the
Oh,
football teams in England.
I guess that would make sense that they'd have football ones, yeah.
Yeah, and then of course they had the obligatory Walmart and Target variants as well. If you
Yeah.
ever call it the standard cover.
Yeah, I got
Plus
the Amazon
the
one.
standard cover. Yeah, I mean, so he had one of each copy there, which is kind of cool to see a whole wall of all these Hackney diamonds. But it's ridiculous. You
Yeah, it
know.
is.
Yeah,
I can't.
as someone
I'm
who
a
worked in
sucker
the
for that stuff, but it's just out of control.
to a point. You know,
Yeah.
as someone who grew up in the '90s, I actually worked in a comic shop in the '90s. And that's what killed that hobby was all the pointless variations of every cover.
Oh yeah, they're still doing it too.
Yeah, they went away for a long time when they realized it burned people out. But I think now they're kind of dipping their toes back into it again.
Yeah, there's some Star Wars ones that I've just kind of was curious about. Like there's like a
Yeah.
Jango Fett and Mace Windu series, and like they all both have like 4 or 5 cover variants. Like, oh, that's just ridiculous.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, this one's from the direct, the direct retail shops, the comic shops. This one's, for a convention. This is from, yeah. It's, you know, when I was younger, I'd probably really into that, but now I'm just like, this is tedious. I just give me the base copy. I'm happy. Long as all the content is there.
Yep.
In the
Yeah, and
case
all
of the
the
whole story is there.
yep. All the
It's we got,
collectible stuff's doing that now because I mean baseball cards, well, sport cards in general, and any
yep,
kind of collectible cards are doing that now. Like you'll have a set of maybe 300 or 500 cards, but then each card has like 10 or 15 different variants. So
yeah. Well, if you're a gamer, I play Magic the Gathering. They got the same problem now. They have
yeah,
so many variations of the same card when a set first drops, and they'll sell more copies online. With alternate art and alternate, different kind of foil stock used for the foil card and
yep,
this and that. Yeah, it's fun to a point.
yes,
You know, in the case of a game like Magic the Gathering, it's really frustrating to sit down and play a game, and the person's playing their cards. Like I don't recognize anything on the board.
yeah,
Because they're all in such different styles now. You're like, I don't know what's even happening in this game anymore.
it's crazy.
you know,
Yep.
better to play online.
So next topic would be, and you actually brought it to my attention, was the Beatles' Love Cirque du Soleil show. So
Yes, I'm
sadly is
heartbroken about
ending.
this one. I mean, to be fair, if my memory serves me well, which it probably doesn't, I could have swore that show was only supposed to run for 10 years anyways. So the fact
Yeah,
that
I don't
around
know.
18 is really
Mhm.
cool. I was hoping to go in August for my 50th birthday to go see it. For what would have been my third time. That was
Yeah,
part of
I'm
one of my
going.
birthday celebrations, and like they announced that as soon as I made the plans, booked the time off. I'm like, awesome, thanks.
That sucks. Yeah, no, I'm very fortunate because I think I mentioned that
I think
I'm
it's in
going to
June.
a trade show, so I'm taking some training classes over the weekend while I'm there, and it's gonna be a
Oh,
little brutal because I'm going to the late night show on Saturday, and I have to go to like a class the next morning, but it's okay. But
well, it's
going
totally
to
worth
the
it. Yeah.
yeah, and I've done it several times. I think I've lost count. It's at least 6 or 7 times or more that I've gone to see it. So
Yeah, I've seen it twice. It's cool because the show was different both times.
yeah,
There,
I don't. It's been pretty rare that it's been exactly the same every time. I don't think I've seen it's been different almost every time that I can recall.
yeah,
So
it's ending a couple weeks too soon. Why can't it make it till August 1st? That's all I ask. What is wrong with you? It's like what,
yeah,
July
and I
7th?
saw someone else comment, and I thought it was pretty interesting. It's like okay, well, this is a the part of the reasoning that they gave was that it's the Mirage is being turned over to the Hard Rock for the hotel purposes. It's like so the Mirage was having a rock
Themed
themed Cirque du
show.
Soleil show, and they're getting rid of it. The Hard Rock, which is a rock themed hotel, is getting rid of the rock themed
Show
show. That makes sense.
from one of the biggest, if probably the biggest rock band in the world. Yes,
Yeah,
makes total sense. Why
complete
wouldn't
sense
you?
to me. Sure, why not, right?
Why wouldn't you do this?
But yeah, so it was just crazy. So, all right.
Oh,
So last,
we might get Let It Be though. Finally,
oh yeah, I did see that. And yeah,
today.
they had some hints that it looks like there might be potentially Let It Be the movie
Yeah,
might come out.
I'm sure it's gonna be scrubbed and look as terrible as Get Back, but at
Yeah,
least you
that
can
was
see
pretty
the movie
sad.
again. I love the color work that was done. I don't like the smoothing out about the grain.
Yeah, no.
The
Yeah,
footage is
they.
spectacular. The cleaning up of the audio was spectacular, but it's so overdone.
Yep,
And then if
I
he's
would
gonna
agree.
play some way, which is kind of gonna make me sad.
Yeah, no, that was kind of rough, but
But
Fingers crossed.
finally, they've been promising it for years.
That'll be nice. So hopefully that's what it is. It looks like that's what it is, and hopefully you'll actually be able to buy a physical copy of it.
Yeah, well, since it's got the Disney Plus logo on the little teaser poster that they put out, my guess is they'll probably have some kind of exclusive streaming rights for a few months.
Yeah,
Then the disc will come out.
yeah. No, that's
It's
my
fine.
guess as well. Yep, I agree. So,
Then they'll probably put out the Blu-ray, and then it'll have sound problems, so they'll recall it, and they have to wait a couple months and buy it again,
of course,
like the last one. How did that
that's right.
happen? That's all because of Apple Records.
Fun stuff. All right, so last on the list is my list, Act Two of the Record Store Day, and just in general. I mean, it's, and I think when we might mention this in the last call we had too, is that it's definitely one of the best lists in
Oh,
a long
definitely.
time. And I was looking at it and also thinking, but I'm like, all right, the prices are so insane now, and I, I want to budget a lot lower this year, and
What
because
was
it's
that
just
word?
what's that?
What's that word you used?
Yeah, budget. Yeah.
What does that mean?
Um, so I made my short my initial list, which I think I'm probably at least 30 titles at this point, and I got to pare it
I think
down.
I think I'm 15 that I really want to find.
Well, I think there's like 15 to 20 that I really, really want.
Well, usually what ends up happening is I'll find usually most of those, and then like another 10 while I'm browsing through the bins. Because you'll see like it's one thing to look at it as a list, either as a PDF or the HTML version of it on the RSD site. But when you're flipping through the boxes and you see the cover in your hand, you see the hype sticker, what's special about this, what's on here, you're like, oh, okay. I didn't realize this was on the list. It's all just text. You can miss it easily. When you have it in your hands as a physical object, you're flipping through a bin, it catches your eye better. Like, oh, this looks kind of cool. I forgot about this, or I didn't realize this was on the list. But that's
Yeah.
why my list bloats so much more from what I first write down once I'm at the store. You're like, oh, when you see it in your hand, and things that were maybes become yeses because oh, this looks cooler than I originally thought, or
Yep.
oh, this person did the mastering work and got a credit on the sticker. Cool.
Well, that's part of the reason why I was going through today, because I was going through the web version of it and kind of looking at all the credits. Because like one of them that struck out, like, as you kind of talked about mastering credits, is the Brother Jack McDuff release, "Ain't No Sunshine." That's being cut by Kevin Gray and pressed
Yeah,
at, I think, Q
therapy.
QRP. Thank you. So that one looks pretty interesting to me. And some other ones that I didn't remember on the list before were stuff like John Lennon Mind Games EP. It
Yeah,
looks like there's gonna be a color and a black version. I didn't realize that was on. I don't remember that being on the list initially. Um,
the album or the variants. So I remember the album, the EP being on there.
there's Elton John Caribou. Um,
So yeah, no, but I meant the mind games. You meant the. You just
right,
say
it's
that.
an EP.
Yeah. It's one of those things. If I get it, great. I mean, it's also just a sampler of what's to come from an upcoming box set. I mean, worst case,
Yes.
but yeah, I would like to have it just 'cause I'm a Beatle collector.
Well, and it's because, and there's also the David Bowie one, which was on the list originally,
Yes.
because I don't think that that's going to be available on vinyl besides this release. It's
Right.
coming out in a box set for CD and I think Blu-ray, but I don't believe it's coming out on vinyl except for this. So, that's definitely one. Another one that I thought was really interesting, and I guess it all depends on how much of a fan you are of Tesla. But not the car, but the hard rock band.
Or the scientist.
Yeah. But there's an album called Real to Real, which is real REAL to real REEL. And I guess it looks like there is a covers album that they recorded on analog gear.
Oh, cool.
And so it was all done analog, all done live. And it looks very interesting. And I don't remember seeing that on the list before either. But then
That's
there's a part.
apropos. That's apropos because their biggest hit was a cover. It was Signs.
Yeah, right.
That's the one song I bought. I bought the cassette single back in the day. One of the few cassette singles I actually owned.
I used to
I
have a
can't
ton of them. Definitely don't
I
have any anymore, but
I threw mine all out. Most of my sets we placed on CD or whatever. So
I did have a bunch of CD singles. Still do have a bunch of CD singles. I have some of those 3-inch CD singles too.
oh
But
yeah, I have a handful of those too. Those are great.
yeah. But anyway, another one that, I mean, this one you're probably not gonna be interested in, but Olivia Rodrigo's 7-inch
Yeah.
singles coming out. But one else that I don't remember on the list before was the Parliament's Osmium, I think
First
they
album,
called.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing that initially when they first announced the
Look,
list.
Jeff and I talked about it. Rewatch your episode, man.
Yeah, see how I am? I'm getting old and senile. That's what it is.
I know the
So
feeling.
yeah. So but yeah. Um but yeah, no, I mean those are definitely all ones that I want to get with along with like the Talking Heads live album and
Yeah, I saw that.
um there's like a Black Crow 7-inch single that I really like their new album, and that's a single from the new album, and there's a previously unreleased song that's going to be on side B, which looks cool. And one of my favorites from the '90s, guilty pleasure, I maybe, but G Love and Special Sauce.
I remember them, yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I guess there's going to be some bonus content on that too. So, but just a lot of big stuff coming out. Like some of my favorite albums, like from the '90s, like I guess it's late '80s, but like Dead Milkmen, Bucky Fellini. I used to love that
Yeah.
album. They're reissuing that. Um, Not sure if I'm gonna get that because I already have an original. So that's one of those ones where I'm like, I'd like to have that, but if I'm already spending like way too much money already, I don't know. And then the big ones that Beatles
Yeah,
set.
I it's one of those things I kind of want it, but it's really pricey. It's like what, 175 or so.
It's like $180 minimum,
It's just it's
with my
just
luck,
it's just gonna sit on a shelf. I mean, it'll look cool. It's just gonna
yeah.
sit on a shelf.
Well, and I have two of those players already, and they suck.
Never the one. Yeah,
Now,
I used
granted,
once.
yeah, granted, it's this one looks like it might be an upgrade slightly because it looks like it's got Bluetooth and
Yeah.
stuff like that, but I still can't see it's gonna be a vast improvement over the ones that they already released. But yeah, it's gonna be $180, and that's just that considering how many other things I want to get, I don't
Yeah,
think
it's
that's
got the
gonna be in the
Beatles
cards.
tax on it. So yeah, it's I do kind of want it. Yeah, it's one of those things man, I don't need it, but it would look nice in my listing room on a shelf.
Hell, I'm running out of space in all of my spaces for that stuff. That's my
You and I
problem.
will.
So, but yeah, I mean, those are a lot of the big ones that I kind of looked at, and I got Willie Nelson Phases and Stages. They're having like a deluxe version of that.
All that, yeah.
I actually just bought that as a
Finally, please just put it out.
yeah, well, I bought a version of it that came out the regular version. It's probably a variation of the Vinyl Me Please version,
Yeah, 560.
but it sounded great. But
Oh,
this
yeah,
one's gonna have some alternate versions of the songs and stuff like that on it too. But that's probably gonna be stupid expensive too.
I mean,
So,
they did Shotgun Willie last year. That wasn't that expensive.
well, it was where I was at
Oh,
my local store because they overprice things by $5 to $10 a piece. So
ooh,
that's the other problem.
right.
Like any place that sells something for like $30, they'll sell it for like 38. Or if it's like 45, they'll charge like 50, 55 for it.
Jeez.
Yeah, it sucks. So, I mean, it might be one of those things too where there'll be some stuff that I definitely know I want that might just not be available if I
Yeah,
waited, that I'll get there and then I'll wait for the online stuff to go on sale
one day.
from and then buy them there. So, but yeah, so it is what it is. But definitely a great record store day. I'm looking forward to
I
that.
do
And
too.
so, but yeah, so I don't know anything else you wanted to talk about that you had come up that came up today, this week.
I think that's it. I mean, yeah, the big thing was the audio X, but that was great. I enjoy it. It's like the car show, but with stereos. It's fun to
Yeah,
look. It doesn't mean you're gonna go buy anything, but it's cool to hear it and to hang out and listen to music for 3 days. That's always kind of
nah,
nice.
that sucks.
you know, it's the biggest convention of old white guys in America.
Yeah, right. That's very true.
There's a definite target demographic, and it is you and I.
Pretty much hits us right
Over there,
nail on
old
the
white
head.
guys.
But
Yeah,
oh,
but a
one
lot of fun.
one last thing I wanted to talk about on Record Store Day that I just looked at on my list again that I don't remember. Maybe you guys brought this up and I didn't see it, but it's a I think it's a 12-inch single, and it's got David Byrne and Paramore, and they're covering one another's songs. So
I
like
don't think it
Paramore's covering
was.
"Burning Down the House" and David Byrne's covering "Hard Times."
That's cool.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
thought
check
that
that
was a
out.
pretty interesting one.
Yeah, I would totally check that out.
Yeah. So anyway, all right. All right, well, that's I
Oh,
guess for the episode for this week. If you guys want to make some comments below, please do so. If you liked the video, hit the like button. If you didn't like it, go away. But
tell me all cables sound the same and that digital is better than analog.
yes, all
Yeah,
that.
man.
Well, I think most of the people I get are probably going to say that analog definitely sounds better than digital. On, uh, I think the subscribers I have will probably say that. So, but I want to thank all my subscribers actually too. And if you don't subscribe, please do so. That's awesome if you do. So
Like and subscribe now.
yeah, one of those things, that you don't hear on every single YouTube video out there
Right.
ever. So
Yo, it's your boy here to talk about records. Be sure to click like and subscribe. Oh, sorry.
no, no, no.
And you can like clickbaity thumbnail.
Yeah, right. So, all right, well, thank you everybody. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate it, and
Anytime.
I'm sure we'll be talking again soon. And that's everything for this week. So, thanks a lot, everybody.
Bye. Go buy records.
Absolutely.